So by hitting F9, F10, what it allows you to do is move by selecting things by different component types. Okay? We'll get into more detail later. For now, what I want you to do is just go to vertex mode, hold spacebar, right click on the word Maya and just go to front view so that we're here. And I want you to sort of move these two just up to this first grid line, or you're just again eyeballing the distance from here to here. And I don't want to get too into specifics just yet because I want you to sort of train your eye as an artist to sort of see these shapes. So you can do this by selecting each one and going to vertex mode through the front view. You can see here now they're all set to the same height, or you can do it using that component mode. So all I want you to do now is sort of get all these legs to the same height. Okay? What we're going to do next is start to build some of the really nice details. So for example, you can see here we have screws that are on the surface of our leg, and they're sort of all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a screw that's for the front, and then we're going to create one for the top. So let's go ahead and go to Create, Polygon Primitive, Sphere. I'm going to left click and drag out a sphere. Now the geometry, or the number of edges or faces on this sphere, is pretty high. So what I want to do is lower that number, because they're going to be pretty small on the surface of my object, and the more geometry you have, the more bogged down your scene is. So there's another attribute which will allow you to edit the individual elements of the sphere, and it's located on our inputs here. So if you click on Polysphere 1, let's just make our subdivisions down to 10. So we have a much smaller sphere. And then I'm going to right click and go to Face Mode, select all of these bottom faces, and hit the Delete key. Okay. Now, before we do that, let's make sure that we're in object mode, just so you can see that. I'm going to duplicate this one more time. So we have two spheres. Okay. Now, with the first sphere selected, I'm going to go ahead and create these top screws. You can see that only the top is visible. So I'm going to right click and go to Face Mode, highlight that, hit Delete. Just make sure that you got all of those. I'm going to left click on this guy to select them. And in the top view, let's kind of move it off to the side here. Let's hit spacebar. Let's jump to our top view. I'm going to right click, go to Face Mode, select all of these, and just delete them. So holding spacebar, going to perspective, or you can hit spacebar and go to your perspective mode. Now the thing I'm trying to point out is I know I make this look a lot easier, and the more you practice, you'll build up speed. So let's go ahead and start placing these guys out. So my nail is a lot bigger than the one on the scene, so I'm going to hit Control D. I'm going to move it over, move it in the front, and just kind of place it where I think it should be. I'm going to hit R and scale this down, scale this in, scale it down a little bit more. Again, I'm just going to move this into the view, scaling it, just till I get it to the size I kind of like. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, let's hit W, hit Control D. Let's move this down. You can see that we're starting to get there. Okay, I'm going to hold Control or Shift, select both these guys, hit Control D, and copy them. Okay. Now let's hold Shift again. Okay. Let's hit Control D again. So we're duplicating these guys. Let's hit E. And what you'll notice is if we click on our Y axis, you can rotate the Y here. So we're just going to go ahead and type in 90. Hit W, just move these guys into place. Here. And again, you're building your skills of moving things around. So if you find this to be difficult, don't worry. It was difficult for me when I first started. Let's hit Control D again. Let's duplicate this. Alright. Let's do the same thing for the other side. I'm hitting Control D. And instead of 90 here, let's go 180. I'm going to move these in and forward. Control D again. Alright, looks good. Control D again. So we copy this. We're just copying it around. Let's make this 360. Oops, sorry. Alright, there we go. It's kind of moving this into place. Control D, duplicate these guys. Alright, so now we have our nails. Now, our nails, again, are a little bit bigger than the other ones. Now, you can use the same nail, duplicate it, and again, rotate it, you know, going -90 here. And just sort of move these around. Or you can use the pre-built one that we made earlier, which is this guy, by just scaling it. So I'm going to duplicate this here. Hold shift, duplicate these guys down here. And let's select all these guys and move them down. So we're starting to get our table. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create a little box that sits, actually let's go ahead and create 2 more boxes that fit on the outside. And we're going to do this pretty easily. So we need one box that comes out further than this face, and then we need another one. So all I'm going to do is hit Control D on this center box. You can see I duplicated it. I'm going to hit R to scale that out, and I'm just going to scale it down like this and scale it. So I'm just going on the blue, and you can see, so all I did is one more time, I duplicated it, I hit R to scale it out so I know it's wider, and I'm scaling it out on this view. And I'm going to go on my y-axis and just scale it down. Let's move that here. Let's hit Control D again and move this down. So again, we're just creating this sort of bevel here. Alright, let's Control D again. And all we're doing at this point is just practicing our scale and move tools to kind of create this table. Alright, I'm creating these little wood pieces here. So alright, let's Control D that guy. And again, you want to just think about using very simple shapes that already exist. Alright? And let's go ahead and create a torus for that little ring. So create polygon primitive, torus, and let's left click again. And if we go under the inputs poly torus, you can see that we can adjust by just left clicking on the word section, and you can see by middle mouse, I'm just holding my middle wheel, I can control the radius. So I just click on the name section radius, and I click radius, and I middle mouse my wheel, I can control that. We want to take our subdivisions down to 10 and 10 because it's going to be pretty small. You can see how tiny that is. Let's right click on that, make sure we're in object mode, and let's just hit E, and let's rotate it on our X 90 degrees, hit R, scale that down, hit W, move that up, and let's just place it here for now. Okay. I want to show you briefly how to create this this little intruded box here, and your assignment is going to be to finish this table. That means to make these boxes here on the side of the table, to make this little boxed in area on the side, and to make another little box inside of here. So the way that we can create this little kind of like beveled area that sits in between these two guys, is we're going to select any cube. It could even be this guy. We're going to duplicate that. I'm just going to move it forward. I'm going to hit R, scale that in, like that, scale that up. And I'm going to right click and go to face mode. I'm going to go to edit mesh, hit extrude. And what we're going to do is, by hitting one of these side pieces, it lets us scale in that intrusion. So something like this. We're going to hit edit mesh, extrude again. We're going to move that face in. I'm going to right click and go to object mode. And I'm going to move it into place here. And if it's too big, you can hit 4 to see all of that and just hit R and sort of scale it so that it fits within that window. Alright, or within this section. You can move these guys around too, just to sort of fit it better. Alright. Alright, so your homework assignment is to complete this table. And I'd also want you to do your best to match this shape here by using the Edit Match, Insert Edge Loop tool, and the Interactive tool to add a few cuts. So something like this. So I'm just adding a bunch of cuts. And you don't want to get too crazy with this. So, and then what you can do is go to Edge Mode, double click an edge, and it'll select the entire edge around, and hit R, and just start scaling these guys in to sort of give you that shape. And if you figured, like, you know, I could make my life a lot easier by not having to recut this leg by just going back and deleting these guys and reduplicating this and moving it, I actually reward going above the assignment and sort of figuring those things out on your own. Okay? So your assignment is to match this table at this point. I'm not too concerned with the scale of each object, like obviously mine is a little thicker, but I want you to match all of the fine details. Like I want you to try to make this little cross pattern. I want you to make all these little things. That's your assignment.